Welcome to this e-lecture about circadian rhythms. The lecture will be divided into 3 parts, and this first part will be about the physiology behind circadian rhythms. My name is Bjørn Olav Hall, and I'm from the Department of Biomedical Sciences at the University of Copenhagen. As noted, we will look at 3 different topics in this lecture, and in the first lecture here we will look at the what, why and how questions related to circadian physiology, and next we will look at different models of circadian rhythms, and in particular we will focus on the core rhythm or the core oscillator in a fungus called Neurospora. And finally we will look at how this knowledge and modeling of circadian rhythms can be exploited in the clinic using a topic called chronotherapy. And chronotherapy is simply the use of a rhythmic cycle, in this case circadian rhythms, in the application of a treatment. So we will look at some examples of clinical importance. So we can ask, what are circadian rhythms? Well, circadian rhythms are essentially physiological processes that show some kind of oscillation, and these oscillations need to be intrinsically generated, and they have to have a period of approximately 24 hours. So you can see that in order for all of these processes to occur in a timely manner, they need to be synchronized, and the body resolves this synchronization problem by having a hierarchical organization. So we have a central clock or a master clock here that can entrain all the billions of peripheral clocks that in turn entrains the rhythm, the circadian rhythm that we are interested in. And all of these clocks here, they can be forced by external signals, mainly by the sun, but also by, for instance, meals or our activity pattern when we sleep, and so on and so forth. Also, we can ask, why do organisms evolve circadian rhythms? Well, it has a major evolutionary advantage, because if the environment is changing periodically, then a clock will allow this organism to anticipate what is going on in the environment and then tune its metabolism and its behavior accordingly. For instance, human beings tend to eat at different times during the day, so it's very advantageous that our body produces digestive enzymes just before these meal times and not during nighttime. It turns out that the apparatus that produces circadian rhythms in an organism also provides the organisms with a dual benefit. First of all, it allows the organism to synchronize internal processes. For instance, in human beings, we can synchronize what is going on in our organs using our master clock. Also, we can synchronize all of these internal processes with the external environment. Circadian rhythms are widespread in nature. In fact, every organism that can perceive the diurnal cycle has evolved circadian rhythms. Here I show 2 examples, one from cyanobacteria and one from human fibroblasts from the same human being. In cyanobacteria, we can create genetic constructs that allow us to detect the level of a protein via the level of luminescence. And as you can see here, in normal wild-type cyanobacteria, you see beautiful circadian oscillations with a period of approximately 25 hours. Now, if you knock out one of the central genes that encode a protein that is essential for the core oscillator of a circadian rhythm, you can see that the oscillations die out. If you then knock in the same gene, you can see that the oscillations recommences. But if you knock out another gene, which is also essential for the core rhythm, the oscillations die out. Now, if you grow these three different constructs under different light regimes, here under a 12-hour light, 12-hour dark regime, and here in a 24-hour light, so light always regime, you can see that there are marked differences in the survival of these three strains of cyanobacteria. Under light-dark conditions, you can see that the knock-in survives much better compared to the knockouts, whereas in light-light conditions, you can see that the knockouts actually survives better compared to the knock-in strain. So in summary, a mutation of one of the central genes for the circadian oscillator will cause the circadian rhythm to cease. And the wild-type cyanobacteria display less growth compared to the knockouts in light conditions. Now, returning to the human fibroblasts, you have oscillations here from 4 different cells, and what you can see is that they display individual intrinsic periods of oscillations. And this tells you that in order for the organism or the organ to work in a coherent manner, they need to be synchronized. To synchronize circadian rhythms, our body has evolved a hierarchy of oscillators. External signals, mainly light from the sun, can entrain the master oscillators in the suprachiasmatic nucleus via light going through the eye. The suprachiasmatic nucleus in turn controls to a large part the circadian secretion of hormones from the pineal and the hypothalamic glands. These hormones then entrains all the clocks that are found in most of our cells in our body, in different organs and different tissues, and these in turn helps to entrain a number of physiological processes, may it be the sleep-wake cycle, our feeding pattern, activity when we are active, and other hormone secretion from for instance the adrenal glands, but also digestive function and mating. The suprachiasmatic nucleus is crucial in synchronizing all the peripheral clocks in our body, because the suprachiasmatic nucleus, when taken out from our body, is the only organ that is able to show stable oscillations in a petri dish. Cells from other organs, say the kidney or pituitary gland, is only able to show transient oscillations that eventually die out. Now, the suprachiasmatic nucleus then maintains the oscillations in the peripheral cells by influencing the secretion of hormones from the hypothalamic or the pineal glands. Shown here in black is the circadian profiles of melatonin, cortisol, and tyrotropin secretions in people that are kept in constant conditions. So they are sleep deprived, and they have been sleep deprived for 2 or 3 days before these measures were taken. And for growth hormone here in red, you can see that it is only when the person was allowed to sleep that you could see the circadian profile. Growth hormone under constant condition did not show any oscillations, showing that the circadian hormone secretions is really sufficient to entrain other hormones to also show circadian behavior. So peripheral clocks control the physiological functions that display a circadian rhythm. So in order to do so, we need to synchronize the individual tissue cells, because some of the physiological functions that show circadian rhythm may be pretty abstract functions, such as core body temperature, brain activity, hormone secretion, physical performance, and so on. And as you can see here, again measured from people who were kept under constant conditions, you can see a pronounced circadian rhythm in body temperature, in urine volume, and in cerebral blood flow and systolic blood pressure. And in fact, more than 10% of all genes show a circadian expression profile. But how does the body synchronize all the peripheral clocks? We know that synchrony is critical to health, and we know that external events such as activity, sunlight, eating, and social activities are critical to entrain the overall rhythm. And we call these events for zeitgebers or synchronizers. But we don't really know the details about the molecular events that must occur in order for the different levels to entrain each other. What is known, however, is that if cells are desynchronized, we will enter a condition similar to jet lag. In jet lag, the external oscillator is phase shifted with respect to the internal rhythm. And because individual cells have different periods, the duration with which they entrain to the new phase of the external oscillator are not the same. So this results in a transient desynchronous state of the internal clocks, and this we experience as jet lag with the usual symptoms: sleep disturbance, fatigue, or stomach ache, or maybe mood changes, etc. Similarly, shift workers who rotate in their work schedule relative to the diurnal rhythm experience constant jet lag-like condition, and they also suffer from the typical ailments where they have digestive problems, they suffer from disease, they show a higher incidence of cardiovascular diseases or cancer, and also they have sleep disorders. So this is truly a global problem, considering that 20% of the workforce in the Western world are shift workers. Indeed, circadian rhythms are related to a number of diseases, both physical, like metabolic diseases, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, but also the mental states also show a strong circadian component. It could be your attention during the day or your mood during the day that has a circadian component, but we'll return to these topics later. The take-home message for this first part of the lecture is that circadian rhythms are found in all organisms that experience the diurnal rhythm. in human beings, we have a hierarchical organization of clocks in our body in order to be able to synchronize each and every cell. So we have the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the brain, which entrains all the peripheral clocks in our body, which again entrains the circadian rhythm that relates to a physiological process. Finally, I would like to acknowledge the professional and technical assistance from Olga Sosnovtseva from the Department of Biomedical Sciences here at the University of Copenhagen. Thank you.